Yeah.
They're kind of doing a number on the black and gold. Last season, Week 11, Matt Schaub and Andre Johnson torched the Saints for a 73-yard score. Week 2 of this preseason, no Andre Johnson. Same result, however, pretty much. Matt Schaub and the Saints secondary made Kevin Walter look like a Hall of Famer last night. Drew Brees and the Saints offense held their own, and despite 2 red zone field goals rather than touchdowns, they had the lead at half, outscoring opponents if needed. Drew Brees is ready to hold up his end of the bargain.
I just worry about offense. I worry about scoring more points than they do. Whether that mean, scoring, beating them 13-10 or beating them 41-40, doesn't matter. I mean, certainly every time we touch the ball, we feel like we have an opportunity to score. And, we did come away with points, 4 out of 5 drives in the first half. So that's encouraging.
Coming up tonight on 4th down, Juan Kincaid will look back at the 4 carries from Deuce McAllister last night. Nothing major in the stat book, but definitely a positive sign that Deuce is almost loose. Plus, in studio, former Saint offensive lineman Brad Edelman. He's had a bad game before. Hear his advice for Saints cornerback Jason David. 4th down follows Night Watch. Next week,
the last word on sports. First American Bank's 4th down on 4.
Welcome into 4th down on 4. 2 games down, 2 to go for the Saints this preseason. Improvement from week to week is always the goal in the exhibition season, but against the Texans last night, the Saints fell short. Forget the final score. That's just lagniappe in the preseason. Last night's game disappointed from the very start. The Saints' porous secondary from a year ago reared its ugly head again last night against the Texans, especially on 3rd down, where Houston converted 10 of 14 opportunities. Matt Schaub looked like Joe Montana, Kevin Walter like Jerry Rice. An area of concern last season, the Saints' pass defense seemed to be a point of emphasis in the offseason, with Sean Payton saying after the game, quote, "We stepped backward." 1-versus-1s played for almost the entire first half, and going into the locker room, the Saints were up. But the boos that echoed throughout the dome last night from the Saints faithful were also echoed by the head coach.
The thing that's troubling is that I think we're going to find it goes around the room with tonight's effort. And there weren't a lot of things we did well at all, I think, on defense. This is a game about field position, and it's a game about playing good defense and I just think that our expectation level has got to be high for improvement on that side of the ball, and so that's why it's frustrating when the game ends like it did, and I don't want to chalk it off to a preseason game.
Peyton's demeanor a little easier to accept than that of the team's defensive captain from a year ago, who pinned the performance on exactly what his head coach wouldn't.
I'm not worried at all. You know what I mean? It's a preseason game. They came out with a good plan. We practiced against them all week. We had battles. We pretty much kicked the butt down in practice, but all week, and we just didn't convert that over to today's game. And they came out and played their butts off, and got the win at the end.
While the Saints just ended up under Sean Payton's skin.
It was just frustrating to watch. It was painful to watch that game tonight. It's painful.
Joining us now live in studio, former Saints offensive lineman Brad Edelman. First off, thanks so much for joining us. We want to catch the viewers up in case you don't remember exactly who Brad is. Maybe this will jog your memory. We go back into our archives and look what we found. Some video of number 63. Brad was a member of the Saints' first winning season. Back in 1987, he was drafted 30th overall by New Orleans in 1982, played 8 seasons with the black and gold. He was a mainstay on the offensive line, starting nearly every game he played in. And of course, a Pro Bowler back in 1987 for a Saints team that would win 12 games and earn their first playoff appearance. Well, we're going to start with the obvious, I think, from last night's game, and that would be the Saints secondary, one man in particular, Jason David. Is it as bad as it seems for this guy? He seems to kind of be that cover 2 cornerback in a man-to-man type scheme, or is he just getting caught in the wrong coverages at times?
Well, he's in a tough spot right now, and I would say that not only Jason David is at fault for the complications from this weekend's game, it's the entire defense. You're going to hear Sean Payton say that. You're going to hear the players say that. But Jason David is in a, he's on the bubble here in terms of his, certainly let me say this, that it is no fun walking out on the field making a play or not making a play in this case and being booed by the fans. No player likes that. First-year player, veteran player, tough spot for Jason to be in. Is he going to make this club? I think there's an even shot that he makes this team, but does he need to improve? And what were the mistakes? Were they entirely his, or do they fall on the shoulders of the defense in some of those plays last night?
When you have an obvious weak link, as it appears the Saints do on that side of their secondary, going back to your playing days when you guys would notice a weak link somewhere, even if it wasn't something that was in your repertoire, do you make it a point to go after that, kind of like a shark smelling blood?
I think you do, yeah, sure. Individually, as a player, like I'm going to watch film all week of the guys that I'm going to be against, and certainly the things that I'm going to focus on. One, I know what their strengths are, but where are their weaknesses? Where might my game plan work against their game plan successfully? And that happens on the team level as well. So until they stop you, you go get it.
And knowing Jason David hasn't really been able to stop anyone going from last year and into this year, you touched on it briefly, the boos that came down from the Superdome, when, especially during that first drive. How tough is it, though, especially a cornerback that has to have that mantra of, I've got a short memory, but how really short is your memory, and how big do those blinders have to be when you're in his situation?
Well, they have to be pretty big, and that goes for quarterbacks. Anybody in this league that's going to be up and down in the press on a regular basis and in the eyes of the fans. It's a difficult spot for anybody. I remember being in the newspapers after our loss to Minnesota Vikings, the first playoff game in Saint history, being called a what do you roll over in the middle of the street? To keep you from going slower? A speed bump. Excuse me. Yeah, maybe I just didn't want to remember what it was. Right? Edelman.
I was thinking of something much worse.
Was a speed bump. Was nothing better than a speed bump on the outside. Admittedly, it wasn't a great game. I don't think it was as bad as it felt at the time when I look back at the films. But yeah, there are those challenging moments, and they're easy. It's easier to put behind you. It's easier said than done, but you have to do it.
The Saints made an effort to upgrade along the defensive front in order to probably help out that secondary, but we didn't see much pressure at all, except for maybe one play from Cedric Ellis. What was it? Was it a vanilla game plan? Was it the Texans' offensive line just being able to handle them?
Well, I think it's a combination of certainly vanilla game plan, and a key word in this business is continuity. It goes for every single group on the team: offensive line, defensive backfield. These guys have to get accustomed to working together. So when you take even one element out of the mix that is different than it has been in years past, you change the whole dynamic. So the safeties and the corners have to work together, linebackers in coverage. The defensive line has to get a rush to help out the D-backs. The D-backs have to get initial coverage to give the line a chance to get backfield. So it's a coordinated effort, and we're not there yet. We still have too many changes taking place and potential positions overcome by other players to be in a groove yet. And I'll tell you what, we want to win games, but we don't want to be in that groove just yet. And I think obviously every coach's intention is to be ready, one, for the first game of the regular season, and then know that your sprint has to come at the end of the season.
And Will Smith kind of touched on that, saying that, look, we didn't do everything we're going to do during the regular season, especially after we beat their butts during the practice. You and I were both out there. I'd have to disagree with Will Smith. I thought the Texans practiced a little bit better, especially in the one-on-one drills and in some of those team drills against the Saints. Your opinion?
It's hard for me to say exactly, and really, those were rainy days too. The field was different. It's hard to get all of your footing. You're going to slip. You're going to make mistakes. But again, these are experiences on these surfaces that especially the young guys are going to need going into the regular season. You're going to have those games. So to answer your question, there was an answer coming. I don't know who practiced better. I think the practices were intense, and the good thing about playing these guys and about practicing against any other team is you're going to get a different look. You're going to get a different look from you, the defender, who I've never played before, and as a rookie, I'm still learning the offense. I'm still working on my footwork. I've got all these things swirling around that I've got to synthesize into good football, and it doesn't happen overnight.
All right, Brad Edelman, stay tight. We're going to get into the offensive side of the ball on the Saints game last night. A little bit more up your speed, up your alley, so to speak. We'll talk a little bit. Still ahead on 4th down as well. Deuce McAllister made his long-awaited return to the Superdome turf. How did number 26 feel after the game? We'll hear from the Saints All-Pro running back and get Brad Edelman's thoughts on Deuce and more when we return. Welcome back into 4th down. Last night, some questions were answered regarding the Saints running game. Deuce McAllister's first work in nearly a year was nothing but positive. And as Juan Kincaid reports, left the Superdome crowd wanting more.
A running back's body of work is usually measured in his stats. But for Deuce McAllister, sheer numbers can't tell the whole story.
It went good, you know. Some things that I still got to work on, but it was a good start. You know, that's what it was. It was a start for us. You know, probably just want to get more involved. I'm just happy to be playing and just relieved to, you know, be able to get a game under my belt.
Good to see him back in and get some contact in his first game. Thought he ran the ball pretty well on the carries he had.
It was Deuce's first game action since tearing his ACL way back on September 24th. And it wasn't quantity that caught the eye. He only had 4 carries to 16 yards. But the quality of every run gave Saints fans hope that number 26 will eventually look like his old self again. But for McAllister, the measure of a good day was getting that first good hit.
The biggest thing is just probably getting tackled, you know, and how your body's going to respond, just getting tackled. You know, the cuts, etc. I've made those, you know, it's just going live action, you know, and it's continuous, you know, in practice is one thing, you know, but these guys are going after your legs, you know, they're not per se trying to injure you or hurt you, but they want to get you down as easy as the best way as possible.
Deuce was handed the rock on the game's opening play, but had to wait until the team's final first half drive to carry it again.
Reggie was in the groove. He was feeling pretty good. So, you know, that's one of the things that we wanted to try to do is just make sure the running backs, they got in the groove and made plays. And, you know, we were able to do that a little bit tonight.
Sean Payton said his game plan for Deuce was to give him 12 to 14 touches on the field, and he got that. And the most important part for McAllister, he walked off the field completely healthy.
This was my first real action as far as live is concerned, but, you know, it's a starting point and it gives me something to build upon.
In other words, baby steps that lead to giant leaps forward. Whatever it takes to get Deuce loose once again. With the Saints, I'm Juan Kincaid, 4th down on 4.
We welcome back in former Saints All-Pro offensive lineman Brad Edelman and Deuce McAllister getting back on the field. From a mental standpoint, he's done this before, but as you watch a teammate come back from an injury, how is he seem to be handling this from a mental standpoint?
Well, I think Deuce is a tough guy mentally. He's obviously a tough guy physically too. It's a difficult injury to come back from, and not only did he have reconstruction on his left knee, he had microfracture surgery on his right knee. So he's got a lot of things to be conscious of down there. I think, like he said, he didn't feel it was a phenomenal performance. It didn't need to be.
Right.
What we needed to do is get Deuce McAllister on the field, see how those pins feel, those legs feel, and have him get a feel for the game again. And I think that's exactly what happened last night. Forward for positive yards on every play, first downs, the kind of things we expect from Deuce McAllister, not flashy. Don't need him to be flashy yet. Need him to be ready for the regular season.
Stopping and starting and hitting and getting back up to full speed quick was great. And you played with a guy that had a devastating injury too in Ruben Mays. And was he a different player before and after the injury that you remember?
You know, I think perhaps slightly. Ruben's such a great outside runner, sprinter to the outside, could move so gracefully. If I'm not mistaken, the injury was a torn Achilles tendon, and I think that slowed him up. Will Deuce be the same runner? I know he wants to be. The thing that concerns me about all these ACL injuries, and it's the most common knee injury of the ligaments, and it is a stabilizing factor in the knee, like the ligament behind it. It runs right down the center of the knee, and when that is snapped, it is the ACL is the ligament that you really rely upon for pivoting in position and twisting, and those are the things when you walk out on the field like Deuce McAllister did for your first game, you're going to be a little bit cautious. But again, the trick is to make sure you feel like you can play the game, get out there, test it, and and then eventually you'll be in a position you're confident enough to let it go.
He seemed to pass the first test. Let's talk about the guys in front of him. As you were watching practice this week, you were able to watch a few one-on-one drills that this offensive line did. And most every offensive lineman will tell you those are always geared toward the defensive lineman. But
right.
In your estimation, the best offensive lineman on this team is who?
Well, if I had to pick, I might say Jari Evans, strong on the right guard side. I don't know. I think that's difficult to say. I like Jamal Brown as well. I think you're going to see a good cohesive unit this year. They seem to be very happy with Jonathan Goodwin in the center, the kind of center who is a smart guy, is capable of reading the defenses, making the calls that are so important. It's such a fast-moving game on the offensive line now. And the important thing for these guys, and one of the things I noticed, the veterans were a little bit farther ahead in their footwork techniques. In other words, their foot coming off the ball. Yeah. And as you would expect, correct. But those are the important elements. And we talked a little bit before the show about running game versus passing game.
Right.
And I think what you find is, and I saw some very good offensive line work in the passing game last night. Both Breeze and Brunell had good time to throw on a couple of occasions. And good technique, arms locked out, guys in good position, good pocket form. I think that the younger guys, Carl Nix and Bushrod, are going to get a shot to work in and compete at least for positions in the offensive line. But the key is in the running game, especially as we were talking about earlier, is body position. Is that footwork? That footwork, whether you come from a program that's similar or you come from entirely different teachings on the offensive line, that footwork and working in unison with your fellow offensive linemen right and left, ultimately important, and that takes some time to put together.
Is it an attitude as well sometimes? You saw the Saints stall in the first preseason game on the goal line, stall a little bit in the red zone last night. They can pass block. You said it. Is it an attitude more when it comes to run blocking?
I think when you're run blocking, things come at you so fast, and when these defenses, who are considerably more complicated and active now than they were 15 years ago, 20 years ago when I played, you have to be in a position to handle blitzes, stunts, and guys not being where you anticipated they were when you started the play. So it's immediate recognition, and it's being able to be in a stable body position, knees, hips, legs, arms, shoulders, so you are capable of making whatever play you need to make, because it all happens very rapidly.
All right, Brad Edelman sticking with us on Fourth Down. When we come back, have a little fun. We'll talk some, maybe who's the best guy you went up against, and your opinion on some rule changes. Be sure and stick around. You're watching Fourth Down. Brad Edelman joining us once again for our third segment of Fourth Down. And let's talk a little bit about some of the things going on in the NFL. Roger Goodell saying that there's a good possibility that the league goes from 4 to 2 preseason games and from 16 to 18 regular season games. Your thoughts on expanding the regular season? Fans are going to love it.
Fans, well, you know what? I don't know that the games are going to be any better than they are now as preseason games, because we're talking about really a matter of time here. Okay, so you have, it seems difficult to me, within the 4 to 5 weeks that the teams have in the preseason, to really assess all the talent that you have, or maybe get enough looks for all those people. So that's one thing. For the player, it makes it ultimately more important. Every play in practice is as important as your plays on the game, because you need reps.
But 4 preseason games that's still too much, isn't it, from a player standpoint?
Well, from a player standpoint, well, you're still going to play. You're talking about playing now 2 preseason games and 18 regular season games. The season still is long. It's 20 games, and that takes its toll. Would you rather play 2 more regular season? It seems to me that you need that extra time to evaluate your talent. Can you get? Yeah, sure. The league will adapt to it if it is, and if it's revenue generating, and if it's better for the league, you know, maybe that's a way it will go. For the players, my guess, it wouldn't make a whole lot of difference. And it just seems they must figure that it's very possible.
I think it's money. I think it's money too. Let's have a little fun here. The best player you ever had to block.
I had trouble with 2 guys during my career. One of them named Dan Hampton out of Chicago, and the other one named Keith Millard out of Minnesota. And I'll tell you why they were so tough. Both tall guys, exceptionally strong and quick. The guys on the defense, and big enough, at 285, 295. When a guy moves that well, and as an offensive lineman, you have an assignment to come off the ball, and you've got to put your hat on him in a certain place and maybe bounce off him to another guy. When that guy is either not there or sprinting across your face or getting off the ball so quickly, makes it very difficult to get a hat on him and stay with him. The good things, a guy like Dan Hampton, although he was a great player, what I had to do with both of those types of players is stay on them until the play was finished. Don't you get a block on them, stay on them. Knock them down, don't let them get up. Stay on them, on them, on them. And that's, you know, that's what I'd like to see out of offensive linemen in this team. I like to see guys downfield. I like to see receivers making extra effort in the backfield, et cetera, in downfield, et cetera, et cetera.
Give me your best in the huddle story with Bobby Hebert.
Oh, God.
That you can repeat.
Well, let's see. Then we played one time down the Bayou, and Bobby had us in there, you know. The fun thing about Bobby was excitable. So when we got in a pinch sometimes, just having all of a sudden a recollection, Bobby and I talked about this a couple days ago, of Bobby getting hit and watching his tooth fly from scrimmage in Tampa Bay. This is going many years back. And then he played the rest of the game with a little gap in his tooth. And when he would get upset with us, you know, saliva would spray. I could tell lots of stories of Bobby, but Bobby was great. Bobby's a big kid. He loves the game, and a good leader for our club.
We'll definitely try to get you both down on the show.
I'd love to see that.
We may just throw the scripts out the window and let you guys go at it.
We could have some fun.
Brad Edelman, thanks so much for being on the show. We really enjoyed it. We wrap up Fourth Down. When we come back, we'll let you know a few things we're working on and when you'll be able to watch them. Fourth Down returns. Channel 4 Sports Department working on a couple of sports specials. The first one airing on August 27th. Eye on College Football will preview the upcoming seasons of the defending national champion LSU Tigers, the Tulane Green Wave, and several other state schools. Then, the following week, September 3rd, we'll preview the 2008 Saints season. Both shows will begin at 6:30 p.m. We'll show them right here on Channel 4. That's going to do it for this edition of Fourth Down. Remember, you can watch the show again if you missed anything every Monday at 9:30 p.m. on our sister station, WUPL. A special thanks to former Saints offensive lineman Brad Edelman for stopping by in studio and providing analysis of the team. For Juan Kincaid and everyone else that makes this show work, thanks for watching. We'll see you next Sunday.
There were highlight reel touchdowns, the return of Deuce, but in the end,
It was disappointing for me.
and no one even had to ask why.
If we're wanting to become a playoff team and a team that competes for a championship, we're going to have to play a lot better defense.
We'll break down last night's preseason home opener with the Texans. Highlights, post-game reaction,
You know, just got to play better, execute better as a defense, and just try to do my job.
and we'll hear from Deuce, who played his first game in almost 11 months. On the college scene, what did Les Miles think of Saturday's scrimmage? And last night, hey coach, it's just preseason, right?
We could say it's preseason and it's going to be okay, but I thought defensively we were poor.
From Fox 8 Sports, this is The Final Play with Eric Ritchie. Brought to you by Crown Buick, the sportsman's headquarters. Your friends at Jack Daniels remind you to drink responsibly. Jack Daniels Tennessee Whiskey, Lynchburg, Tennessee. And Firestone Complete Auto Care, home of the triple guarantee. Fixed right, priced right, right on time.
Welcome to the day after as we break down the Saints preseason home opener. The game itself culminated a week that saw the Saints break camp from Jackson, scrimmage against another team for a couple days, and lose a defensive starter, Hollis Thomas, from a year ago with a torn tricep. Let's kick it off as we head back to last night's preseason matchup between the Saints and Texans. And out of the tunnel and into the game for the first time in almost 11 months, there he was, Deuce McAllister. And who better to get the first handoff of the game? Number 26 for a 4-yard gain, had 4 carries, 16 yards, a couple catches on the night. First big play of the game came courtesy of the Saints special teams after New Orleans product Jacoby Jones fumbles the punt. Troy Evans would be there for the recovery at the 10-yard line, but the Saints couldn't punch it in, had to settle for a field goal. Once the Texans offense got on the field, they couldn't be stopped. Matt Schaub went right at Jason David 3 times on the drive, connecting with big plays to Kevin Walter. When it was time to score, back to Walter, who beats David for a 26-yard touchdown, and the Texans had the lead 7-3. Tough night for the Saints defense. Drew Brees continues to look sharp. Ensuing drive, he goes deep for David Patton, and look at DP, haul it in for a big 39-yard gain. Now again, the Saints couldn't punch it in, had to settle for a Martin Gramatica field goal, and as usual, Gramatica connects 33-yarder, hasn't missed as a Saint. After the Texans scored to make it 14-6, the Saints responded. Brees to Mark Campbell. 4 catches last week, only 1 last night, but it was a biggie, 38 yards, and the Saints were in business again. The first of 2 sensational touchdowns on the night came on the swing pass to Reggie Bush. Reggie leaps up and over former Drew Brees college teammate Jacques Reeves, and the Saints had cut the lead to 1, 14-13. Second highlight reel TD came from Marcus Colston. Wonder why the Saints reworked this guy's contract? Plays like that. Beautiful effort. Colston's TD gave the Saints the 2017 lead heading to the half. Texans scored first in the third quarter. 1-yard plunge by Chris Taylor, making it a 24-20 game before the Saints second team had a chance to shine. Mark Brunell, another solid game, goes deep for Lance Moore, and Moore makes the tremendous grab for a 49-yard gain. All camp, Moore catches everything close to him. What a battle going on at wide receiver. It set up another touchdown pass. This play, action to Kevin Dudley, who scores like he did last preseason against the Steelers. That gave the Saints the 27-24 lead. But fourth quarter, the Texans, they get the last laugh. Rookie running back Steve Slayton out of West Virginia slices in from the 10-yard line, and that would close out the scoring. Saints fall to 1-1 on the preseason, losing 31-27 to the Texans, who racked up, get this, 405 total yards. The Saints, including 289 yards through the air. Now, if you're having a tough time remembering a Houston incomplete pass, good reason. They only had 4 all night in 25 attempts. The Saints' reaction to last night's game? Well, it depends on who you ask. Fox 8's Rob Ennis has the story.
Some things stay the same, and some things never change.
If we're wanting to become a playoff team and a team that competes for a championship, we're going to have to play a lot better defense.
Once again, the opposing quarterback targeted much maligned Saints corner Jason David. Not once, not twice, but 3 times on third down, and then burned again on this 26-yard touchdown pass from Matt Schaub to Kevin Walter.
Just got to go back, look at the film and just seeing what I did wrong, seeing what I did good, and just try to correct those things. They did have a good game plan. They played a great game. They got a good offense. And this preseason is tough to game plan with such a short window to prepare for a team, but we just got to execute.
While David struggled in the secondary, the Saints' front 7 couldn't generate a pass rush. The Texans were an impressive 10 of 14 on third down. The biggest stat of the night, Houston only punted twice.
We could say it's the preseason and it's going to be okay, but I thought defensively we were poor. I thought on third down we were poor.
Well, I'm not worried at all. It's a preseason game. They came out with a good plan. We practiced against them all week. We had battles. We pretty much kicked the butt down in practice, but all week, and we just didn't convert that over to today's game.
We've got to do a better job. We collectively, starting with the coaches, myself, and our people on that side of the ball of improving.
Meanwhile, Drew Brees tossed 2 touchdown passes. Marcus Colston hauled in this one-handed grab in the end zone. And Reggie Bush skied for pay dirt, reminding Saints fans what the former Heisman Trophy winner did at USC.
He kind of gave it away early that he was going to try to, take my knees out. So I kind of, read it, pretty early, like I said, and I could tell he was going to try to take my knees out. So, it wasn't like a plan thing, I just kind of spurred of the moment.
Certainly every time we touch the ball, we feel like we have an opportunity to score. And, you know, we did come away with points, you know, 4 out of 5 drives in the first half. So that's encouraging.
Maybe the most encouraging thing of the night, Deuce McAllister played in his first game almost 11 months after tearing his ACL against the Tennessee Titans. Coming up in our Saints sidebar, hear what the Saints' all-time leading rusher says about his health. Mike Carney and Drew Brees also give their take on what it means to have number 26 back home in the backfield. That's only minutes away in our Saints sidebar. Eric?
Thanks a lot, Rob. Last night, Saints Executive VP and General Manager Mickey Loomis joined us during our live 1-hour pregame special.
You're watching The Final Play from Fox 8 Sports.
I told him that I wanted to play because at first we talked about me just sitting out this game and not really pushing it. But, you know, I felt good, good enough to go, and I felt like, you know, I wanted to give it a shot and just also, you know, see where I'm at, you know, week 2 of the preseason, just kind of gauge myself.
Held out of practice on Thursday with swelling in his knee, Reggie's status for last night's game was questionable. His highlight reel touchdown was not. Welcome back to The Final Play. I'm Eric Ritchie. Deuce McAllister wasn't the only Saint making his preseason debut last night. Middle linebacker Jonathan Vilma on the field for the first time as a Saint. He got the start and made 2 tackles, but more importantly, got some of the rust off, but was not pleased with his overall unit's performance.
We don't take the approach that, you know, oh, it's only preseason. You know, we're out there, we're trying to play, we're trying to get better, and that's why I say it's unfortunate that we didn't perform the way we wanted to perform today, and we have to get better at that. As a unit, though, we have to improve, obviously, and fortunately that this game doesn't count, but, you know, there are some things we have to work on.
It was also good to see guys like Devery Henderson and Tracy Porter on the field for the first time this preseason as well. But as far as comebacks, none bigger than the return of Deuce McAllister. Deuce joined Rob Ennis during our live post-game show, and that's our Saints sidebar.
We're here with the biggest story of the night, Deuce McAllister. Your first action in almost 11 months after tearing your ACL. How did it feel to be back out there?
I don't know if the biggest story, you know.
You're the biggest story tonight, believe me, after this game.
Nah, I just tried to go out there and just compete, you know, just tried to go out there and was on my keys and, you know, just tried to move the offense, you know, when I was in there. You know, we did a great job of just trying to keep them off balance, but there's some things that we need to work on, myself personally, so it was a start for us.
What was going through your mind the first time you line up in the backfield and they call the play for you?
Well, actually, you know, if I make a harder cut or a harder plant, you know, and then really explode, you know, I have a chance to get out of there and get up on the safety. But, you know, we'll go back and just look at the film and, you know, just go and grade it and just go from there. But, I mean, it was a good start for us.
What would you say is lacking, if anything? Is it the explosiveness, or if you're on a scale of 1 to 100%, where do you think you might be right now?
Probably about 75, 80%, you know, just, you know, there's some things, just strength, you know, getting back in the knee, you know, explosion, et cetera. But, you know, I have a starting place, you know, I have somewhere to start, I have some things to build upon, so that's what I'm going to do now.
What was it like when you saw Deuce run onto the field for the first time in almost 11 months?
Got chills. I got chills down my spine, man. I just gave him a big old hug when he made it through, you know, when he got introduced, and just told him, welcome back, man. You know what I mean? I love you, and it's great to have you back, and it's great to have him on the field, man. It's great to see him out there running, and you know we all know he's been through a lot. And he's working hard, continuing to work hard, but it's great to see him back.
Good having the hammer back there, you know. And, he played well, had a few carries, had a few catches, and was impressed with him.
Thanks, Rob. Time to head back to campus on the final play.
It appeared to me that the defense is a little ahead of the offense at this time.
Les Miles talks about Saturday's closed scrimmage. While at Tulane, we get offensive with the Green Wave when the final play returns.
You have the right to remain silent.
Be quiet. You hear her talking. You know better than that.
Anything you say can be held against you.
You don't even know how to season the lie so that I can swallow it.
You have the right to watch your favorite court shows.
Justice is blind.
All afternoon.
Go right ahead. Do the right thing.
Wow.
The People's Court at 1, Judge Joe Brown at 2, Divorce Court at 3, and Judge Mathis at 4.
Good luck. Have a good day.
Have your day in court today on Fox 8.
Most of us put our hearts into our work, but sometimes our hearts fail us. Heart disease is a common cause of permanent disability. Yet thousands of people are denied their medical benefits from Social Security. That's when you need the experience of Matt Greenbaum. Social Security law is all he does, and for nearly 30 years, he's been fighting for thousands of clients, helping them secure their rightful benefits.
Call me and let me fight for you.
I'm Randy Epperly.
And I'm David Epperly. We can build your custom home,
or total renovation, or get you into a modular.
EPCO Construction can build your custom dream home from the ground up or total renovation.
Saints on defense would start around the league on other teams.
Good point.
Think about it. And I think there's some, but not nearly enough. The Saints are hoping a former Pro Bowler can be some sort of assistance for their beleaguered secondary. Street free agent Lance Schulters was signed after working out for the club on Sunday. Meantime, a Saint on a hot seat said he understands why.
I mean, if I was a fan and if I love the Saints as much as they do, and I was as passionate as they are, I mean, I would boo players too. You know, that's part of the game, that's part of the business, and I understand that.
Saints cornerback Jason David was beaten on more than one occasion in Saturday night's preseason loss to Houston. David would not say if he was expecting deep help on this 26-yard Texans touchdown pass in the first quarter. David said late Saturday evening he returned home and looked at some old DVDs of his previous play.
After the game, you know, I immediately went home and I looked at the type of player that I was in Indianapolis, and I looked at the Cincinnati tapes, the 2 games that we played against them, and I mean, I was a totally different player. You know, I was flying around, I was having fun, and now I think I might be putting a little bit too much pressure on myself.
The 33-year-old Schulters has played for the 49ers, Titans, Falcons, and Dolphins. Sean Payton said that Lance Schulters could play free or strong safety. Media was not allowed to view any team periods at practice and thus see if there were any shuffling of the #1 unit in the secondary. Tonight,
Bengal is now trying to make a name for himself with the Saints.
LSU product Skyler Green has bounced around the NFL since leaving the Tigers back in '05 and now has extra incentive of performing well against the team that gave up on him last year. Here with Louisiana's own Skyler Green. And Skyler, man, it's been a fun month having you back here with the Saints. What's the whole experience been like for you?
It's been tremendous. The opportunity that I get to get out there on the football field has been outstanding, and every chance I get, I make the best of it.
And that's the key, every chance you get, because when we're talking about that last preseason game, everyone's focused on the defense, and I know Coach Payton said it a couple times afterwards, we didn't force them to punt for what. You're the guy trying to make this team as a punt returner. You must have been going out of your mind on every third down.
I was. I kind of felt like, you know, I wasn't getting the opportunity to get the chance to go out there, but I know our defense is going to step it up, and they're going to play the ball that they know how to play, and that's nose to the ball and make tackles and do everything they can to get the offense back out on the field so I can get the opportunity to punt return the ball.
Now it's the Bengals. They're up next in Cincinnati, and certainly your mouth has to be watering right now with the chance to return some punts and show this coaching staff, because I know you know what you can do, but it's a matter of proving it to the Saints.
Yeah, and this opportunity is going to be a big one for me, because being that I played there in Cincinnati last year, it'll be a good deal for me to get a return on those guys. And I'm looking forward to playing against some of my old teammates, and it's going to be a fun game.
You must kind of sit there and wonder every time you watch something with the Bengals. You see Chad go down, you know, dislocated shoulder, and TJ's out with the hamstring right now, and you're looking for wide receivers, and you're like, you had one, you had one. Do you think that?
Yeah, sometimes I look in the back of my mind and I think, you know, man, I could have been out there, you know, balling out right now, and you know, but those guys are going to get it together, and they'll be back when the season starts, and they'll be going full force again.
Chris Henry, a local guy as well, and a guy who they re-signed, brought him back after some troubles. What's your whole take on Chris Henry, and what do you think this young man needs to do to do it right and make it this time with another chance with the Bengals?
Chris is a good friend of mine, and I think, you know, he has tried to turn it around, and I think he has turned it around. And looking to go down the straight and narrow and do the right thing for himself and for the Bengals organization. And I think he's going to make the best of this opportunity, and everything's going to work out well for him.
I'm looking for a couple of third down stops Saturday night, and we're looking for Skyler Green to get some punt returns. And remember the scrimmage. That's all I got to say. Remember that scrimmage. 98 yards untouched. Skyler, best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Thanks, man. Good luck.
Linebacker Scott Fujita. And we're joined with linebacker Scott Fujita. First off, Scott, Coach Payton said last game was painful to watch. If you could, tell us what happened on the defensive side of the ball.
Couldn't get off the field on third down, and that's really what it comes down to. I mean, if you're going to be successful in this league and in any season, you got to get off the field on third down defensively. Otherwise, you have no chance.
How does it make you feel when Saints fans say the offense can outscore anybody, the defense really can't stop anybody?
It's frustrating, and that's what's starting to create a chip on a lot of our shoulders, and maybe that's what's necessary right now. You know, guys are tired of playing second fiddle. They're tired of being the guys who can't hold up air on the park, and we want to do our part.
Not to single anybody out, but Jason David struggled like he did last year. What do you tell a guy like that after he has a game like that?
He's still one of us. You know, he's competing. He's trying his best. And, you know, sometimes those kind of things happen. So he's just got to come in and keep working hard like he has done and hope for the best. And we're going to be there for him regardless.
It's still the preseason. The preseason's all about making adjustments. What does the defense have to do to adjust for the third game of the preseason here?
Well, I mean, our work and practice every day, that's great. That's not going to change. But again, I keep talking about that chip on our shoulder. We have to come in with the kind of attitude where we're going to make the changes. We're going to make the difference. And like I said, we want to hold up our end of the bargain. And with an offense like ours and a quarterback like Drew Brees, you know, we can go the distance. The defensive, we've got to play our part, and that's what we've got to start to do this next preseason game.
During the offseason, you guys brought in a linebacker, Jonathan Vilma, cornerback, Randall Gay. How will those two guys help this defense?
Yeah, they're great because they can come in and contribute right away, which is what you want. And they both work hard. You know, the fastest way to get embraced on this team is to come in and work. And Jonathan's done that from day one, you know, battling back from an injury, competing every day in practice, and doing a great job. Same thing with Randall. I mean, Randall's got, you know, more Super Bowl rings than most of us can dream of. So just to have a guy like that in the locker room, I think is healthy for us.
That's linebacker Scott Fujita. Scott, thanks for your time.
Thanks.
And welcome back to Saints Game Plan. No question about it, Jeremy Shockey, certainly Coach Payton's prize jewel of the offseason. But don't forget, the Saints also added several players to shore up their defense as well.
Robin, one of those players was cornerback Aaron Glenn, who's looked good so far. Time to take a walk with the 15-year NFL vet. Time to go goal line to goal line with Saints cornerback Aaron Glenn. Aaron, let's take a walk 100 yards and talk about, I guess, your first month as a New Orleans Saint. Overall, sum it up for us.
It's been good. It's been good. Practice has been hard as training camp should be, and the one thing I think we're doing right now is trying to get the communication and technique down for the secondary, trying to get that down so we could you know, improve on the things that happened last year.
Some of the things that you said during camp in Jackson that really stood out to me was the fact that you still talk to Ronnie Lott almost once a week. That guy certainly was your mentor your rookie season when you broke in with the Jets in '94. Ronnie Lott was playing for the Jets then. What are you and Ronnie Lott talking about?
I mean, right now we're talking more about life, you know, things like that, business ventures that we're both in. And every now and then, you know, football will come up. You know, I know back in the day, my younger days, you know, football was the total topic of everything. But now, it's more on life. He still watch me play, and when he see things that he feels I'm doing wrong out there, you know, he'll try to slap me on the head, you know, from afar. And try to correct me on some things. But, I mean, anytime you got a guy like that just continuously talking to you, continuously checking up on your technique and things like that, I mean, it's a good thing.
What has he said about your time in New Orleans? And obviously he's seen you now in 2 games, and you've performed pretty well.
Well, he said I haven't lost anything. You know, that's the one thing that that he said. And he said, which we both know, God has been good to me. It seems like he's out on age, and hopefully that's true. You know, going continue to keep playing. So, and hopefully I can continue to play well, continue to help this team. I think that's more than anything. Just try to help this team get a swagger back and you know, get a city something that it deserves, and that's a winning team.
Bill Parcells is a guy, obviously, that you played for more than one place. I know you played for him at the Jets, you played for him in Dallas, and he's a guy you still refer back to. What does Coach Parcells tell you?
Well, that's a guy that really beats me up a lot. You know, anytime he sees I do anything wrong, he's going to tell me about it. So I think the one thing about Bill is he's just a good friend. And a lot of times you don't get a lot of coaches that you can say that's truly a friend of yours. And he's one of the guys I can say that he's truly a friend because he's not afraid to tell me when I'm doing wrong.
I know when we asked you about the Saints secondary, and you said, man, last year was I wasn't here last year. I know it was much maligned. Now that you've had a chance to see him all training camp, you've seen him 2 games now, what's your take? I know when Jackson said there's a lot of speed back there. What do you say now about this defensive secondary as a unit for the Saints?
I think the one thing that we have to get is confidence. You know, when things like what happened last year happen, I mean, it's easy for a secondary and whole to lose their confidence, and regardless of the type of players that we have, confidence is a hard thing to try to grasp and hold on to. And I think we have talent. We have a lot of talent. It's just the fact that we have to know that we're good. We have to know that we can go out there and compete with anybody. I think once we get the confidence down and start getting communication and technique down, there's no offense, I think, that could just really just go out there and beat us. You know, the things we have to do is just understand and know that we can go out there and play with the elite teams. And once we start doing that, I think we'll be okay.
He offers leadership, he offers technique, and certainly a lot of positive mojo. We're happy to have Aaron Glenn with the New Orleans Saints. Thanks a lot, Aaron. Best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Goal line to goal line with Aaron Glenn.
You take 20.
Number 76, Jonathan.
Who's the last three people you called?
Wife, mother, and the Orchid Man.
Why number 76?
I was 78 when I was in college and 78 in New York. I got here, Stench had 78, Chief gave me 76.
What's your favorite movie?
Usual Suspects.
Who's your favorite actor?
Denzel Washington.
Who's in your iPod?
Young Jeezy, T.I., Jay-Z.
What kind of car do you drive?
Range Rover.
What's your favorite hobby?
Video games.
What's one thing you do during halftime of each game?
Eat oranges.
What motivates you?
To prove that I can be a center in this league.
What's your favorite fast food?
Burger King.
What is the ringtone on your cell phone?
It's just a standard ring.
Who's your role model?
My parents.
What's one goal you hope to achieve by the end of the season?
Super Bowl.
What's your favorite TV show?
Final Play.
What else do you have planned for today?
Just go home, supposed to go grocery shopping.
What's your favorite part about New Orleans?
Restaurants.
What country do you want to visit?
England.
If you were not playing football, you would be?
Coaching.
What's your favorite vacation spot?
Hawaii.
Last question, what does Jonathan Goodwin want to know about the future?
Where I'm going to be in 10 years.
Number 76, Jonathan.